the 5.2.5 version of Cinnamon desktop environment developed by Linux Mint, which offers advanced, innovative features, but continues the traditional user experience in some way, has been announced. The new version, announced by Clement Lefebvre on github.com, was thus made available. It is reported that 2 file changes, 9 additions, and 1 deletion were performed in the release. While expressing the happiness on behalf of the whole team and developers regarding the release of the version, users were asked not to hesitate about the feedback of the bugs they detected regarding the new version that comes with various improvements and innovations. Linux Mint 20.3 beta includes new look and new app. Linux Mint announced the development milestone on its blog. The final stable release of Linux Mint 20.3 is due before Christmas, possibly on the 18th or the 25th, according to the internet chatter. This beta is intended for developers and bug hunters, but gives interested users a sneak peek at what's planned too. So what's new? Well, a fair bit. I'll take a deeper look at Linux Mint 20.3. When the stable release arrives, Mint developer says they have some surprises planned. What follows is a concise overview of most striking changes I noticed when spending time with the beta this afternoon. Linux Mint 20.3 new look, new apps. We'll start with the changes you can't miss, the updated theme. Linux Mint 20.3 gives itself a new look that users get. These less green, minty tones are replaced with steely grey accent and tinty toward the UI. Additionally, the Mint white theme supports rounded window corners by default. This helps give the Linux Mint desktop and the X apps that run on it a pinch of modernity, and is no doubt at helping the distro keep pace with changing visual styles on their platforms. Finally, the Mint white theme refresh introduces slightly larger title bar and larger window controls, with the maximize, minimize, and close button all notably larger than in Linux Mint 20.2. Sticking with the visual changes, native Mint media apps like Celluloid, Hypnotex, and the stock image viewer now use dark themes by default. This change is consistent with other Linux distro and desktop environment, including Ubuntu and GNOME. Cinnamon's calendar applet can now show calendar events. Multiple events on the same day can be displayed, including those synced from different calendars, such as Google Calendar and the Thunderbird email client, alongside local events scheduled in the stock calendar app. Linux Mint's terrific Sticky Notes app boosts search functionality. This makes it much easier to find a specific sticky reference, an event, task, to-do, or other search terms you can choose. Similarly, Hypnotex, Mint's free internet TV tool, gains a channel search feature too. Some of Mint's other default apps get some updates. The PDF reader now pages in the right direction when reading manga. The image viewer is able to quickly fit to the width or the height of the displayed picture, and apps adapts to smaller display resolutions by hiding the menu bar, not showing a toolbar in full screen, and so on. Lastly, Linux Mint 20.3 includes a new document tool called Library and codenamed Thingy. Library acts as a centralized font end to see all of your favorite .pdf files, irrespective of their exact location on your system. Mint developers do plan to extend the file format compatibility with the app in future releases. Mint's new library app is also able to keep track of reading progress. While it's not quite as advanced as dedicated Linux ebooks read apps like Folite, it's similar approach. How to download Linux Mint 20.3 beta. Eager testers will be able to download Linux Mint 20.3 beta this week. The impatient can unwrap it a few days early from the preferred Linux Mint download mirror. Just download, flash, boot, and get bug hunting. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps make a good content for you. Other than that, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace out.